another episode of PowerMove Makers. This series was created with a simple goal in mind: to bring to the table high-level executives, successful entrepreneurs, and just all-around inspiring human beings. Not just focusing on their success, but more important, shining a spotlight on the road they traveled to get there. Now, this week's guest, there's some young brothers, and they are doing big things. They got this amazing podcast that I personally had the pleasure of being a guest on a couple of months back. And I wanted to bring them on my show because they speak my same language. They are trying to increase the knowledge and the wisdom within the Black community and trying to give back selflessly to our community and help expand the thought process and get our people out there to become entrepreneurs and to achieve financial and generational wealth. Please welcome to this week's Power Move Makers series, Mr. David and Jalen of the Black Wealth Renaissance. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, Shawn, for having us on, bro. This is a great pleasure and an honor of ours, man. Like we were saying before, this is one of our first interviews, like getting to dive in. So I'm excited, man. Happy we could do it with you.
I appreciate it, my brother. I really want to say thank you.
Now, you guys are very welcome. I love what you're doing. You guys have a top-rated business podcast over iTunes, and what you're doing for the community, I think is commendable. And I think it's for people like me and all of those out there who have these types of podcasts. It's our responsibility to get brothers like you onto our show and really bring light to what you're doing, because you're sitting down and you're really diving deep into Black wealth and putting a spotlight on entrepreneurs like myself who are doing things within the community and giving back, and you're showcasing our story. And I wanted to showcase you guys. So one of my first questions for you, you guys are very, very young. Why is the Black Wealth Renaissance, why is that important? And I'll start with you, David. Why is that important to you guys?
Well, with like Black Wealth Renaissance, the reason it's like so important to us, and really the whole thing that like inspired it, was just because we all college graduates. And whenever we were like in school, we were working on these things and we were learning all this information and learning about all these different things. And whenever it came time to graduate, myself, Jalen, Jared, Kelly too, we didn't find jobs in our fields, and we realized that we gained all this knowledge, but we didn't learn about some very important stuff. Like when it came to business, like finances, like personal finances, taxes. So we would make a lot of different decisions. Initially, like whenever we were in school, we were spending our money, a little irrationally, things at first. But like as we got older, as time went on, we started having more conversations just about money, because Jared, Kelly, and I were roommates. Okay. So like through those conversations, we started kind of diving into rabbit holes and just kind of looking into the issues in Black America as it related to money. And overall, we were seeing that like one of the biggest issues with our people is that throughout history, we haven't had the money to create change. We always want to talk about change, but we always look at it from a social perspective, whenever in our reality, we need to be looking at it from an economic perspective. So that got us going really just into the world kind of personal finance. And we started diving in and started learning about different businesses, different side hustles. Like we learned about drop shipping, and we learned about Forex and just all these different hustles and things that we started acquiring knowledge on, all these things that we just weren't taught, and realized that these things that we learned on the internet for free were teaching us more than we learned in school. So that's kind of what we were like with Black Wealth Renaissance. What we wanted to do was start putting this information out there for our people, because we don't get this information a lot of the time. This information isn't talked about in our community. We don't really have these conversations. So like just taking this information like about finances, business, taxes, just the different advantages you can have, and bringing it to our people in a way that they could understand and making it digestible.
You guys are young, and I should have started here. How old are you, David? And Jalen, how old are you?
I'm 26.
And I'm 25.
Okay. So you just recently graduated college, I'd say about 4 or 5 years ago, tops.
2017.
3. Yeah, 3.
3 years ago.
This month makes 3. Yep.
Okay. And just for the sake of our audience who might not be familiar with your podcast, you guys are 2 of 4.
Yes, sir.
So your podcast is comprised of 4 friends from college who, decided to start this podcast because you wanted to give back to the community. And I love what you just said, Dave, when you were like, when we think of change, so often we think of social change. But truth of the matter is, it starts, yes, social change is great, but the power comes with economic change. It comes with financial change, and that's a mindset. And we've been, within our community, held down and oppressed for so long, socially and financially. We've adopted the mindset that, becoming lower middle class is about the best we can do. Mm-hmm. Why, and I guess this would go to you, Jalen. And before I even go further, I think I know the answer to this question, but did all of you guys pledge while you were in college?
I did. So you can
I'm not in a fraternity, but me, Jared, and Kelly are all in the same organization, like a community service brotherhood, similar to a frat, not a frat though.
Okay.
And once again, you know that Jared and I are also members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated also. Yeah,
I think it's important for you guys to plug that, especially with the good work that you're all doing here. I want to ask, within our community, you often see people who have acquired wealth. They've done it either slinging weight, selling drugs, or through
entertainment,
sports and entertainment. Why is it important for you to showcase people who are average, everyday people who have gone to college, people may not have gone to college, but people who have started businesses and created wealth? Why is that important for you guys?
And the reason why we say that's important is it's not just for us, it's for the community. We wanted to show the community that there are role models outside of those original categories that you said. Everybody don't have to be a dope boy. Everybody's not going to be a next professional athlete. Everybody's not going to be a comedian. So we wanted to showcase and show our community in a different light. We wanted to show that our people, we're more than just being entertainers, dope boys, and things like that. We wanted to actually showcase and show our community that there's other avenues that you can become successful and make way more money than being an athlete or being an entertainer. Because what people don't realize is if you're an athlete or if you're a rapper or whatever you are, you're still getting paid like you're on salary. And
there you go.
Next you at the rate of a 9-to-5 worker, like you're on what is it?
You on that? You're a consumer.
You're in that
category.
A
consumer. You're not producing for the economy. You could be a consumer or a business owner in that sense. You're an employee.
Yeah. So we basically just wanted to show our community that it's larger than that to us, and just show them that, hey, real estate is an option. Stocks is an option. Owning a business is an option. Like, those are other options that you can have. And we know that it's not for everyone, but at least we want to show people that these are some options and some avenues that you can take and that you can actually make a difference in. And you don't have to go risk your life. You don't have to risk your body, risk getting a knee blown out. Even if you are an athlete, if your knee gets blown out or if you get seriously injured, guess what? That's all your money going there. So now how are you going to start to provide for your family?
And to piggyback off of what Jalen was saying, just to add, like, when it comes to this, not only like with all that other stuff, when it comes to these other categories that we were talking about, like, you're real limited in the amount of people that can be successful. But when it comes to this business game and this entrepreneurship, like, you determine your salary. You can create more opportunities based on the time you put in, the connections you create. Like, it's a lot more opportunities out here to create money without having to rely on your body or your own, like, just some physical attribute that you have, or like like a very minor, like, I'm trying to see what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not a lot of spots in. Like, I always like it to look at it with the NFL, right? Everybody think they want to go to the NFL in our community, NFL, NBA. NFL only got like what?
52-man roster?
Couple thousand spots. NBA only got a couple hundred spots. Like, everybody can't go there, but we can all own businesses. We can all take advantage of the different tax deductions that we can have if you have a business structure, you know how to play the game the correct way. Yeah.
No, that's well said. It's well said, and it's great insight. In speaking of insight, how many people have you guys interviewed on your podcast, would you say?
Roughly around 90.
Yeah, around 90 people so far.
Okay. So is there a common thread? Is there a similarity, or something that you can say all successful people have? Now that you've interviewed highly successful people within our community, is there a thread that runs through all of them?
There is, and it's really interesting whenever you start to think about it and you start to see it, because once you start to examine those successful people, you can tell the difference really kind of like immediately. With successful people, they're willing to go above and beyond for one, like they know exactly what their goal is, and they're not going to stop until they reach that goal. And they don't really let limitations stop them.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of successful people, they don't see limits. They see ways to get around the limits. They figure out ways to be successful. Another thing that I see successful people, pretty much everyone that we've interviewed, is they understand they can't do it all on their own. They understand the power of teamwork, and they understand that, hey, I need solid people around me who can help me take me further. I'll let you.
With that, I mean, just go.
No, I thought that was a great answer. Have you guys, because we're taught, many of us, when I was coming up, becoming an entrepreneur, it wasn't something that was glamorized or even promoted in the way that it's promoted today. I think you guys have an advantage. Your generation has an advantage over my generation, or even the generations before me, because, we were always taught, go to school, get higher education, get a job, work 30, 40 years, retire, and that's when you live your life. So, but, and you just speaking to so many entrepreneurs, when do you guys find is the best time for anybody who's working a job to set out on their own? Because right now, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but not everybody knows how to become an entrepreneur. And even if they have this incredible ideas, most people are handcuffed to that paycheck. They're handcuffed to the idea that every other week I'm going to have a direct deposit straight to my bank, and I have health care. Being out here as an entrepreneur, for a person like me who's been an entrepreneur for over 20 plus years, this is the only life I know. But for somebody who's been working the majority of their adult life, taking that leap of faith is very, very, it's scary. It's downright to where people are like, no, I know I could possibly make it out there, but I'm just too afraid to take that risk. So when would you say the best time for anybody to leave their job and take that leap of faith and bet on themselves would be?
To me, it's never going to be a perfect time, but you should have like some check boxes in order before you decide that you want to just jump off the porch. So as a person now, I think I'm 11 months into full-time entrepreneurship. I quit my job last month, and all that stuff last year in December. That was the last time I had a job. And whenever I was going through that, it was like that very thing you were talking about, that mental block of like wanting to be like, man, I'm not going to get this check. I'm not going to get this check. But the thing you need to do to combat that is, I say first, you need to have that 6-month emergency fund. Like, before you consider jumping off the porch with anything, you need to make sure that you have your finances in order and that you're going to be able to sustain yourself at your current level for at least 6 months to a year. And when I say 6 months, I mean, if you got a 6-month emergency fund and you're trying to jump off the porch, you better already have something in the works that's already generating profits. You can't just be like, oh, I got this emergency fund, I'm going to figure it out. No, you need to already have something that's already showing that this can be a viable option before jumping off the porch. I know for me, it was a time where like, I'm sitting here, I'm at the job, and I'm looking at the business make this much money. And it's like, yo, the business is making this, and I'm over here. This is taking away time from me being able to build into my business. So whenever it gets to that point, that's whenever you really should consider it, because now it's actually hurting you to be there, because you have more potential to earn and continue to grow in that business.
And yeah, I'll piggyback off of that too, because I've been a full-time entrepreneur over a year now. As of this month, a few days ago, actually, on the 17th of October. And same thing for me. I was at work and I kind of left before David, but I saw the potential because, like he said, we had something in the works and I was seeing what was coming through, but I was also getting in trouble at work for being on my phone trying to take care of my business. So I was like, it's coming to a point where I'd rather take care of myself and my business to make sure that what I have is going to last versus being tied down here. And like he said, you got to have that 6 month to a year emergency fund. And one thing with us, with Black Earth Renaissance, we're all money in. Like, we have not taken any money out. So I'm not even going to lie to you. I kind of did jump off the porch and I didn't have any more money coming in. So what that did was that made me more hungry too, though. So come January, we're figuring out, okay, how can we start cranking out $10,000 months? How can we start cranking out $20,000 months? So now it really lights that fire up under you, because once you're in that entrepreneur world, you kill what you eat. If you don't kill anything, you're going to starve. You're going to be hungry. Right. Like, you're going to be hungry. And I'm not going to lie, there's months that I was hungry. Like, it's like, damn, you got to figure it out. But it sharpens you. And I do want to say entrepreneurship is not for the mentally weak person. If you know that you're not able to take on pressure, or if you know that you're not able to do certain things and you'll be able to get stressed out, or small things overwhelm you, I'm going to be honest, I don't think full-time entrepreneurship is for you. But that doesn't mean that building generational wealth and investing isn't for you.
Mm-hmm.
I love that you just said that, Jay. I recently interviewed with Damon Dash, and he and I argued on that one point right there, because I don't believe entrepreneurship is for everyone. I just don't. You have to be built for this.
Thanks.
There is going to be setbacks. There's going to be disappointments. There's going to be letdowns. There's going to be things you couldn't even predict, conceive, or plan for that come up every day. And if you are not mentally tough, if you are not a person who is resilient and willing to get knocked down and not just get back up, but get back up and figure it out, this is not for you. And that's okay. It really is. And I was speaking to him and I was like, I don't think it's for everybody. He, Dame being the aggressive personality he is, he argued me down on that point. Everyone is an entrepreneur. And I love that you just said that, because I don't want to put, number one, false hope out to people. Mm-hmm. This is a very difficult lifestyle. It really is. Like you said, you eat what you kill. There is nobody that is putting a paycheck in your account every other week. And and I remember when I first started out in this game, a mentor of mine told me, he said, Shawn, one of the hardest things in the world to do is get somebody to write you a check. And that's just the truth. Like, getting people to part with their money is difficult. So I think that it's very, very, I love that you brought these points up. Both of you guys really tapped on some great, great points. One of the other things I wanted to touch on, you guys speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, and you're both entrepreneurs yourself. Can we speak to failure being part of the process? Mm-hmm. Because everyone thinks that this is going to be an easy road, and it ain't.
It's not, man. It's not, and it's a quote that helped me always stick with it. Cause like you gonna go through some L's, you gonna take some tough L's. There's gonna always be some shit that's gonna be like, man, dang, like I thought it was gonna go this way, but it's not. But like with every defeat comes the equal opportunity, like for a greater success. Like each time you go through something in entrepreneurship, like it's going to help you get to that next level. Like with us, we came into this thing. I think our biggest mistake was that we came in, this was a passion project. This was not a business. So like we came through and we didn't monetize ourselves effectively through the initial portions of this.
We didn't even have a business plan.
We didn't have a business plan. Like we just were doing this out of what we know, out of what we could do, just sharing information. And that ended up biting us. But what it was able to do was like, because you could look at it and you could look at it two ways. You could look like, dang, we messed up. We didn't do it right from the start. We missed out on all this money, all this opportunity. Or we could look at it as like, okay, this is what we hadn't been doing. This is what we need to do now so that we can start seeing the trajectory we want to see. And as we started doing that, looking at the things that you learn in failure, the things that you seen like, oh, this didn't work, that didn't work. Let me change this, let me change that. You start seeing that upward trajectory. It starts going from being that $5,000 to that $10,000, that $10,000 to that $20,000, and so on and so forth, as long as you just continue to learn from your mistakes. Because we all got to make mistakes, honestly.
And correct. I kind of want to piggyback off of just the whole failure thing too, because I recently put a post up on my personal page about, failure. And what I said was, I know failure is my admission to success. You must go through failure in order to be admitted to success. And whenever you think about bodybuilders or you think about anyone training, weight training, what do they do to their muscles? They train until it fails, until you can't go anymore. Because guess what? Once you fail and that muscle breaks down, it comes back a whole lot stronger. Even with a broken bone, you break a bone, they said that part that it heals, that's stronger than the other part of the bone. So even a part of pledging and becoming a part of a fraternity, they say we must break you down to build you back up again. Same thing with the military. We must break you down to build you back up again. And I feel like with anything, you must be broken down. You must have some type of failure to really appreciate the success too. Because if you just get some success, quick success, overnight success, you're not going to appreciate it. You're also not going to know what it truly took to get there. Because guess what? You got lucky. So now you don't know, if I do this thing wrong, this is what's going to happen. But once you start to experience that failure, now you know, okay, this doesn't work right. This is the correct way to do it. Okay, I just figured out another way to do it properly because the other way that I tried didn't work. So now you're able to start gaining experience. Experience also comes from failure. Once you start taking those hits on the chin, and I want to talk to one of the event that we had around December last year. We were hosting our first event by ourselves, and this was in New Orleans. And our ticket sales wasn't going the way that we wanted to, and we were kind of afraid because some things like it, the way that we wanted the event and envisioned the event to go, everything wasn't going the right way. We weren't happy with the location. People weren't signing up, and we were this close to canceling the event because one of our members said, well, we're just like, man, we don't want to look bad in front of people. And then I think it was David. David was like, nah, this makes me reminds me of like the Kanye West Yeezy, like him launching his clothing line. There was nobody there at the first show, but he said, this is good. This is good because now we know it's only up from here. And that was something that I think Jared was saying. He was like, man, I don't want to look like a failure in front of all these people. But I feel like this is good whenever you fail in front of people, because guess what? You're able to show humility and you're able to show what your true character is, because I feel like your character is based on how you get up after you're knocked down, not how you celebrate after a championship.
You're touching on so many great points. I'm sitting here and I'm just smiling as I'm listening to you. And, you know, I spent many years of my career in the music industry. And prior to being in the music industry, I was a party promoter. And just sticking with the mindset of an entrepreneur for a brief second, I remember promoting parties and having that same mentality. You know, you don't want to promote the party that 5 people show up to. Mm-hmm. And then later in my career, I created the Global Spin Awards. And it was that same mindset. It's like, damn, you know, I'm creating this huge event and I don't want to fail publicly. I don't want an empty house. If the house is packed and we don't have our stuff together, people could see us just catching the biggest L in real time. And sticking to the mindset of an entrepreneur, can you guys just stay on this topic because it really comes down to daring to be great. You have to be willing to jump out there and catch a public beatdown, catch the L of your life while people are watching. But if you dare to be great, on the other side of that, you might just become great. In my case, yes, I took some public L's, but I learned from them. And the next time I went out, we were more prepared. We were more equipped. But I would not have become the person that I have become if I didn't dare to be great. Can you speak to that for a second?
I really feel like just with daring to be great, it was really a test of your faith and your belief in yourself. Like, we all go through things. We all gonna have these challenges as entrepreneurs. Like you said, you're gonna take a L publicly, but you gotta have the ability, the discernment, like the faith, just to understand that this is not it. This not gonna be the last thing. Like this, there's always tomorrow. There's always the next day. As long as I can wake up, I can make this happen. That's like, you gotta have that never say die mentality. You can't just be, like we spoke on earlier, you can't be weak-minded. You can't be like, let yourself be defeated. You can't. One thing I really big on getting against is self-victimization. A lot of people, that's why I feel like not many people can maintain this entrepreneurial mindset. We get around a bunch of different people. We start getting these beliefs about ourselves that, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. I won't do this and I won't do that. But it's like, if you want to be great and you want to really expand and grow, you're going to have to change your narrative around yourself. You can't be a person who thinks the world is out to get you. You got to be the person that puts yourself in the position of power. You can't be a reactive person. You got to be a proactive person if you want to actually do something. Because whenever you reactive, you operating like on like your primary nervous system, some primitive stuff here. Like you over here, you just going with the flow. You just letting everything else determine what you can do, whenever you in all reality can determine what you can do if you just sit there and think about it and actually think about what you're saying about yourself, thinking about how you talking like around yourself. I'm real big on self-talk.
And I want to piggyback off of that too, about just daring to be great. I think it's the same thing like you're saying. You got to fail on a large stage if you really want to be great. You have to go big or go home. Great people don't come from doing mediocre tasks. Like, you have to do something that's above the ordinary. Even with us, with creating Black Wealth Renaissance, one of the first like entrepreneurs in the family who was doing this. Like, I have a college degree, and my people like, why are you not using that? Why are you not doing this? Because you don't understand the impact that we're having on these other people. So I know I went to school for this, but that's not what God placed in my life. Mm-hmm. I have to be great and I have to be different. So even like you said, with us failing on a larger stage, that's another reason why we were kind of scared of the event, because at that time we had 200,000 eyeballs on us on our page. So why would we want to fail in front of those people? But at the same time, once again, it's a humbling experience. And I want to bring it back to sports. Even with LeBron James, the man has been to the finals 10, 11 times. He's only won 4 of them, but he's still regarded as one of the greatest to ever play this game. And guess what? Anytime he has a terrible night, they're criticizing him, killing him, slaughtering him all over the media. But guess what he does? He puts the chip on his shoulder and he comes back and he show you, this is why I am regarded as one of the greatest people to play this sport. This is why I can be so dominant. I can take over the game. So I feel like with us chasing greatness, you have to have that same mentality. Even with Michael Jordan, he said, you can't be afraid to take the last minute shot. You didn't practice enough. So you obviously didn't prepare enough if you felt like you were afraid for it. So you obviously knew that you already placed the seed of defeat in your mind. If you have the I don't care, I'm going to be confident. Even if this event, and I'm going to speak to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I don't care if you love him or hate him. Anytime he ever talks about his personal self and things regarding him, it's the greatest ever. He had a damn rally that had little to no people. This is the hugest rally we ever had. Because guess what? He's not placing limitations or defeat on himself. He's going to keep on pushing it, and he's going to keep on looking forward. And you have to be that same way with anything that you're doing. Anytime that you're trying to strive, anytime that you're succeeding, even if you lose, you have to feel, this is the biggest loss I've ever had. Let me go back to the drawing board and make it the biggest win I've ever had.
So well said. So well said on both of you guys' accounts. I love both of your answers. You spoke about you having a degree and your family and friends and people saying, why are you not using your degree? And this is a question that either one of you guys can answer. Are degrees necessary? Are degrees necessary to be successful? And I'll just share my opinion. I have a podcast just like you guys, and I watch other people's podcasts, and I see so many successful entrepreneurs slamming college degrees. Mm-hmm. And actually, I said successful entrepreneurs, but I meant to say successful podcast hosts slamming college degrees. And myself, who has a college degree, also an entrepreneur, I feel, no, you can't put a price on education. I might not be using my degree on a daily basis, but I don't regret going to school and acquiring it. So I'm just wondering, based on your personal experiences and also with the dozens of people that you guys have interviewed, is it necessary for people to get a college degree? And would you recommend it?
I'm not going to sit here and say it's necessary, but I do think that it's very valuable still. It has a lot of value in getting a college degree, but in terms of it being necessary for you to succeed as an entrepreneur, with the internet being a great equalizer, I don't feel like anyone necessarily has to go to college, because what college did for me, and I'm pretty sure Jalen can attest to this too, it just gave me like the insight and the ability to know like where my mind could be stretched. How much could I learn? How much information could I really absorb and retain and really apply? And whenever I use that information, like when I use that same knowledge of self that I gained in college, because I think of college more so as like a journey, like learning more about yourself, that in between time in life where you could have hopped out there at 18, but you went to school. Some people, they still use school for that. They try to use it to figure out life. but it's still valuable in that you can make a lot of connections with people on a college campus. You can learn a lot about yourself, and then you can just continue. It really kind of plants that seed of continuing education in your head to me.
And I do agree with you. It's not, I don't feel like it's required to be successful, but there are some great things that come along with attending a university and obtaining that degree. One of the biggest things is your exposure to different cultures and different people. Once you step on that campus, you have people from all walks of life. You have people from foreign exchange students. So now you're being taken out of your normal environment, and now you're being forced to interact with other people, other cultures, and you're being experienced and you're being exposed to things that you would have never even thought of. So I feel like that is one of the most important things about obtaining a degree is the connection and the exposure that you get, because now if you've only known one type of thing your whole life, once you start getting exposed to these certain things, now it starts to unlock that ability to think beyond what was possible. And now you start to, your curiosity grows, but you also see other people who've done certain things. They're telling you, hey, my family, they own this cattle ranch. We have 1,000 acres, and every year we're going on a ski trip to such and such. Like, damn, I didn't know people were doing that. My family, like, yeah, we might take a trip, but we don't have that. Or at the same time, you meet a person from Colombia. I have a line brother who's Colombian, and his dad's a doctor, but guess what? His dad being a doctor in Colombia, he doesn't get paid what a doctor in America would be getting. So that it opened up a whole nother side of me. Like, damn, Americans, it really is kind of the greatest country to really just seek expansion and really growth. So I learned things like that, and I was exposed to different food, being exposed to different things. And I feel like that all goes back into you being successful, though, because now you're well-rounded. You don't just have a certain type of characteristic that you have. Now you're able to talk to someone from India. You're able to talk to the Caucasian person. Are you able to really blend and mesh well and start understanding different terms? Just as far as generational wealth, I went to school for business. And I remember my finance teacher speaking about certain things that we're talking about right now. I wasn't paying attention to it because at that time, I didn't understand everything because I wasn't exposed to some of those terminologies and things like that. But it always stuck with me that, hey, I need to learn what he's talking about with this investing stuff. I need to learn how to get into the stock market. Or one thing that he also drove home was, like he said, always have that 6 to 12 months of that safety net. He's like, I tell all of my students this, how much are you keeping? How much are you putting back into your pocket? So it was small things like that that was embedded in me while I was on that college campus that was able to start growing. It might not manifest today, tomorrow, but sometime down the line, if you actually paid attention and you actually done the experience right, you didn't just party, I promise you that seed will start to manifest into a tree of fruits.
Well said. Let's stick there for a second. Let's talk financial education. What is the best ways that you guys feel that our community can be educated financially? Does it start in schools? Does it start at home? I'm not sure if any of you guys have children, but where does it start? I know traditionally within our community, we're not taught financial education. We're just not. Maybe because our parents didn't have money to begin with, so it just wasn't applicable. But in order to change our outcomes, it first starts with education and changing our mindsets. So where would, if you know, we hear about prison reform, we hear about so many other reforms. If we're talking financial literacy reform, What does that look like to you guys? Where does it start, and what is the best way for all of us to implement it within our communities, within our families, so that the next generation can come up a little more financially sound than we did?
And
that's a good question.
I think, me personally, I believe it starts at the house. I feel it starts at home, because you have that first connection with your child. Your child is around you while they're growing up. So you can, instead of giving them that iPad to hush up or just putting on these cartoons so they can be quiet, you can start teaching them these little small, like, it doesn't have to be anything super complicated. Like, if you give them $2, you can say, okay, here, this is what we're going to do with these $2. $1, we're going to let you spend. This other dollar, we're going to save it so you can invest it. And it's just small things like that that you can start doing with your children while you're at home, so you can start just putting on the value of money and start teaching them why this is important. And while they're growing up, you can start creating it, making it more and more advanced. And I do want to kind of go into something of why that's important, because me personally, I have a story. Whenever you're talking about earlier, the first question was like, why is financial literacy important? I wanted to chime in. I feel like it's important to me because whenever I was a junior in college, I pulled my credit report and I had a 550. And I was just like, man, what the hell? What is going on? But I immediately remember whenever I was a child, there was a period in time where my mom was struggling. And I remember her putting a bill in my name. And whenever that bill was put in my name, I was kind of happy. I was like, oh, man, I got a bill in my name. Fast forward, now I'm a grown man. The bill wasn't taken care of. I wasn't passed down generational wealth. I was passed down generational debt. And that it took me back. And I kind of felt like, damn, I'm starting behind the starting line. Like, some people got head starts, like, it's like, damn, I just got to work at least to get to the starting line. So that's one of the reasons why I feel like this generational wealth and just really teaching financial literacy is important to me. But as also it starting at the house, because whenever I was a kid, I thought that having a bill in your name meant I was a man. I thought that meant like, this was something good. But I quickly realized as a man that if you don't take care of that bill, like, that shit's gonna come back and bite you in the ass.
And just to build on it more, because it definitely, to me, it needs to start at the house. Like, it has to start at home, because if we rely on outside systems to teach it for us, it's probably going to get relayed improperly because this information has already been withheld from our people. That's already proven. We have to use the internet to catch up. So the first thing I think, like he said, with getting it at home is making these examples. Like, I know for me personally, I grew up, my parents, they always together. We never were rich. We never been bad off though. Like, we always had what we needed. It's not like my parents make a world of money, but I never needed anything. I never wanted for anything growing up. And I just noticed certain ways that they would move and different things that they would do, like just with their money. Like, as my parents, they got a joint account and then they got the separate accounts. Like, just different little things, like the way they would do insurance, like the different advantages you could have, like doing it together, just paying attention to their moves more so, because it really wasn't talked about at home with me. I feel like that's the biggest thing with the at home. You need to have the conversation.
To drive home the why we're doing this. It's a lot of times, even coming up as a child, I was always told to save, save, save. I was never told how to save, and I was never told why saving was important. Like, but it was always, hey, you just need to save your money. Just save your money.
Such a great point. We hear that all the time, and I know parents today are telling their kids, save, save, save. You make your money, put a little bit to the side, but they're not telling them why they're saving. So that's such a great point. I'm looking at both of you brothers, and I noticed there's no jewelry. You guys seem like you're living very modest. I think one of the things that plagues our community is all of the people who we have seen, especially with the dope boys and the athletes and the rappers and entertainers, they wear their wealth, and it influences the kids. That is what our community sees as being wealthy is. Mm-hmm. I know I'm balling. I know I'm doing it when I got 3-4 chains around my neck, when I'm driving that Benz 550 or whatever it might be. But like I said, I'm looking at both of you guys. You guys are clearly intelligent. You guys are clearly woke financially. Can we speak to the differences between, and I like to call it, let's just call it lifestyle rich, because that's really what it is. Like, so many people who you think are rich, they're wearing their wealth, but they don't have money in the bank. They're not thinking about tomorrow. They're not thinking, like you said earlier, Dave, when you're like, yo, you got to have 6 months reserved there, as opposed to being really wealthy. Can we speak to the differences between the two? Just the mindset of being lifestyle rich and truly putting money to the side for true wealth?
Yeah. So I definitely see this in our community a lot. Like you said, we just wearing that wealth. Even as far as like my younger brothers, like they're like that. They want to look hood rich. They want to be a dope boy or whatever. And it hurts me because I'm like, bro, like, this is not the way to do it. Like, let me show you. But at the same time, they don't see me with the chains, with the cars and all of this and that. So it's like, it's not making sense to them. Like, you don't have it like I want it. So why am I going to do it like this? So it's just important, because instead of you wanting to wear your wealth, I'd rather say, okay, I got this cash reserves. I can take a trip whenever I want to, or, hey, you know what? I feel like going to eat $100 steak tonight. You can do that without worrying about, what am I going to eat tomorrow? Or do I have to take half of this steak home just so I have a good meal tomorrow? So I feel like we just need to start understanding that wearing that wealth also, it's not going to last. Like, that's all of that stuff is all pretty much, how do I call this?
They're liabilities. They're depreciating liability. I don't even want to call them depreciating assets, because they're not assets whatsoever.
Yeah, liabilities.
They really are.
And even with like the buzz down rollies, iced out watches and all of that, none of that shit has value. You go to try to trade that in, they're giving you less than what you paid for. Whenever the real rich and the real wealthy, they're investing in the gold, but they got solid bricks of gold. I got solid bricks of silver, because this is it in its purest form. So instead of you rocking a gold-plated chain, how about you take that same money you would go spend and actually invest into some solid gold, things that will actually appreciate.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy because like the whole idea behind us wanting to wear our wealth and like our people wanting to do that, I feel like that's some financial trauma type stuff. Like, we never were educated on money. We've always seen money be like this pain point in our community. So now, like, instead of really wanting to learn how it actually works, a lot of us assume that this is the way it goes. We think that because they look rich, they are rich, and that's the only way to be rich is to look rich. But I think whenever we start giving our people like examples of like, when you start putting side by side examples of different people in like, in
their scenarios.
Yeah, like in their scenarios, like people will be here like, oh, this person makes $100,000 a year, but they end up with $0 because they materialistic. You want to get every new pair of shoes and he ain't got nothing. You ain't doing nothing to flip nothing. You ain't trying to make no money. You just spend. The person that makes $50K can be way better off in 10, 20 years if they invest in a third of their income than the person who's over here spending 100% of their $100,000. Like, it's just understanding that these principles and understanding how investing works in general. Because I think our people often like equate the stock market and investing in a lot of these assets as like a risk, a gamble, like I'm going to lose my money. But if you look at things, we talk long-term and we speaking historically, things go up and to the right. For the most part, the stock market in general, if you invest in the S&P 500 ETF, you put $800 in there, you going to see it. That $800 going to be worth a lot more in 30 years than it would be if you just spent that $800 on some bull.
But that's the thing. We look at it, like you said, in 30 years. We want it right now. That's another issue in our community. A lot of times we want things right now, at the moment, microwave, hey, let me get it right now. And I think I want to speak to that trauma too, because I think that's another reason why we wear our wealth is it kind of makes us feel better. I got this, so that means I got money. Let me show you I got these new J's. That mean I got money. You wearing them busted up shoes, but now I got these $200 J's on. So it makes you psychologically feel like, oh, I'm actually doing something. But in all actuality, you paying $220 for shoes that cost $10 to make.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Just going back to the line of question I was asking you guys earlier about the mindset of the entrepreneur, and that's really what we can theme this conversation. Question for both of you guys. Is this your first business? Is this the first time you guys have actually started a business?
This is the first legitimate business that like Black Wolf Renaissance was the first business we went out, got an LLC, ran, and everything like that. We were doing wholesaling. Yeah. We definitely had that.
Yeah. So first legit LLC was a wholesaling company. We were trying to get into real estate. It's called Southland Home Investors, and we were trying to get into real estate. And this was around the same time as us building Black Wealth Renaissance. And once again, we were, adamant. We were this close to getting the deal. We actually ended up getting scammed out of like $3,600, money that we really didn't have. Like that came out of our savings funds. Like it was just, but we knew the principles of success. We knew that if I want to be successful, one, I need to put up my own money. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And I feel like us starting that business was kind of like the stepping stone to us actually getting Black Wealth Renaissance started. But as far as like first legitimate business, it would be that wholesaling company. But with Black Wealth Renaissance, the way it's different, we're actually becoming businessmen because now we're actually learning what it takes to have a successful business. Mm-hmm. We're understanding that, hey, I don't want to be the person doing all of the work. I need to hire some people who I can outsource. I need an actual system. I need guidelines that they can follow. If I'm not there, I still want my business to be working. Even, I don't care if I'm on the beach with my feet chilling. I don't care if I'm at the hospital with my mom. My business should still be working. So now we're able to start thinking of things like that. But even as far as not really a first business, even whenever we was in college, we were still trying certain things. Me in school,
2016 was really when it started. A lot of the different skills with Black Wealth Renaissance, that's whenever we started acquiring them. I kind of mentioned it earlier. Whenever Jared, Kelly, and we were roommates in college, we started out, I was like on Instagram, I was trying to do the influencer marketing thing. I was trying to, something similar to what Black Wealth Renaissance is, build up a page, get some eyeballs, get people to come look at it, collect payment for promoting different people's brands and these things along that brand. Jared was trying to do a drop shipping store. Kelly was building out a blog. So like we were learning, when we hopped into this space, we started learning a lot of different just digital things, like how to create graphics, how to like make hashtags, how to really start sourcing a lot of these things. So that's where we started learning the skills, and we just ended up doing a lot of the work, like Jalen was talking about. Mm-hmm. We just went from learning all these different skills from these little side ventures that we had, and then we started like just applying everything together, because at first we were trying to do everything individually and it wasn't working. But then when we came together, and started like putting our skills together, we started seeing some success. And then we got to the point where Jalen was talking about where now we grew from being the workers to being the people running the actual business, like the actual numbers, the fundamentals, like how we creating this plan to roll this out, how we doing this, how we doing that type of stuff.
And even with me, like with some of the side hustles I was doing in school. So me and one of my frat brothers, we were selling shirts. At one point, we were taking pre-orders and doing things like that. But I even remember times, it was one party, man. I pulled up with my truck in a barbecue pit, and I was selling like barbecue sandwiches after the party got over. Because once again, being in a fraternity, I knew when all the parties was popping. I knew what was about to be popping. But I was like, you know what? I'm not going to this party tonight. Let me go try to make some money. Let me go try to do something. Because I saw other entrepreneurs on campus doing the same thing. So I'm like, man, I need to go do this too. So I just feel like the spirit of entrepreneurship has always been within us, but just actually taking it to the next level. And now we're really just sharpening those skills and really just understanding what it takes to be successful at it.
Well, I asked you this question for a specific purpose. I don't believe, and you guys touched on it so eloquently. I love where you went with your answers, both of you. I don't believe enough of us, human beings, entrepreneurs, just everybody, we don't trust the process. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, as entrepreneurs, you have to be willing to get back on the horse. And listening to you guys, you all had separate businesses at one point. But you could have easily said to yourself, look, it didn't work. I'm going back and getting into the job market. I'm going to find a job. I'm going to put my degree to use. But you didn't. You got back on the horse. You did what you're doing now. But all of the failures and all of the setbacks and the things that you guys learned while you were each acting individually with your own little businesses before, it has come to help you guys to grow Black wealth renaissance at an astounding rate. And it really sets you guys up to be, I think it was you, Jalen, who said, we're businessmen now. We're not just people who are workers. We think like businessmen. And before we close this out, I want you guys to touch on those 2 points. Number one, trusting the process. And this is something that I touch on, very, very frequently within my interviews, because I think it's important for people, even if you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, even if you don't know how something is going to turn out, it's important that you trust the process to know that there is no experience that is wasted. I don't believe that. As human beings, everything that we have gone through it's to set us up for something in the future. And then secondly, once you get knocked down, if you're going to be successful, understand whoever's listening to this on podcast form or watching this on video, you're going to take these L's. We've talked about it again and again and again in this interview, but you can't be successful if you don't get back up on the horse. I'll throw that out to either one of you guys. Feel free to jump in and answer the question.
I want to touch on that trust in the process, man, because I want to go back to whenever I was telling y'all about me leaving my job for full-time entrepreneurship. That was a process within itself. Like, we had been working on BWR for a whole year at that point. We started seeing success. We starting to see profits. We seeing all these things. And it's just like, okay, it's getting to this point where I feel like my job is taken away from my business. Like, so what am I going to do? So I sat down, I prayed about it. I really sat down, I asked. I was like, I need an answer, God. Tell me what to do. So throughout just the next couple of weeks, as I'm searching for answers, I'm going around. We went to this marketing conference, and like I took off of work to go to this marketing conference. I was like, Some spoke to me like, I need to go here. I'm in digital marketing. I need to go here. So I'm here, I'm there, and I'm asking this guy, he's a digital marketer, and he just so happens to pose the question, like asking us to ask questions. His whole thing was on like passion, purpose, and profits. And I felt like it was really speaking to me because it's like, okay, this is where I'm at. I have a passion. I have a purpose. We have profits. But the profits aren't enough to sustain all four of us right now. What am I going to do about this? And I asked him a question, and he gave me an answer. Like, when would be the right time to quit? And he's like, it's never going to be a right time. If you at the point you at right now, you say where you are, you're going to have to go through the process. You're going to have to take some lumps. You're going to have to just figure it out. So that was like my motivation, and I went to just figure it out. And I had the emergency fund, but at the time, I still didn't have another source of revenue immediately coming in. So it's like Black Wealth Renaissance, I'm still giving all my time here, but I'm not having a revenue source. So I'm like, man, what am I going to do? I'm in here, I'm eating through my emergency fund. And as I say, I prayed about it. I'm very spiritual. You know, I spend my time, I think about it. And like, it didn't matter what it was, no matter how difficult the times got. Whenever it seemed like shit was always at the lowest, it felt like a breakthrough came through.
That's right.
Every time. It didn't matter. Even whenever I was like, I felt like I was at my lowest, it's just like, it's like this one little pick-me-up will come and you'd be like, dang, like, oh, I'm better off than I was before. And like, it continues to this day. Like, I'm still in this process. I don't want anybody to think like we at the end of the tunnel. Like, we trust in the process every day. Like, we get up, we work. Once again, we still not taking no money out of BWR. We out here trying to secure bigger deals, trying to do all these different things. Like, it's a process. It seems overnight, it seems fast, it seems big, it seems quick, but it's still a process.
Yeah, and just like with trusting the process too, like he said, we're still on that road to where Black Wealth Renaissance will start paying us back. Right now, I feel like we're just sowing seeds of dedication into it. And we know that where we want it to be at, it'll be able to give us all the fruits that we need. But right now, we're just watering that tree, we're watering that seed, and we're just really trying to make sure that whatever we do, it can be taken care of. And with us not taking profits, we're hiring people in this process.
Yeah.
So people are getting paid from this, but we're not getting paid from this. Like, there's people we're paying damn good. And I just be like, damn, man, that could be going up. But it's like, nah, they're going to make me more money than what I'm doing. So we have to understand that, and we have to keep that in mind, because I'm not going to lie. It's some days where I'm just like, man, this shit really just like, it just weighs on you some days. You get up and you're just like, damn, I ain't do nothing. Like, I'm gonna speak to back whenever I was in Louisiana. I didn't have another revenue source either. So what I was doing was I started cutting grass with my dad, and that wasn't even very profitable. It was a time where I was like, man, I'm trying to afford to put gas into the equipment so I can go make some more money. And like, it was a time where, I'm not gonna lie, man, like, I'm on a job and my damn phone went off. Like, I couldn't even call people. I couldn't even call my dad to tell him, hey, I'm done with this one. Where you want me to meet me? Because I didn't have service. And I literally broke down and I cried in that yard. But I knew what my purpose was, and I knew that whatever it's going to be, this is part of the process. I had to come to here so I can get to where I need to go. It was some lesson that I had to learn, that I had to take with on, and I had to experience that pain. So once I do experience those ups, those peaks, I'll always remember where I came from. I'm not the person to say I'm a flex on somebody, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. Nah, like you said, I'm gonna be modest. I'm gonna wear whatever I want to wear. If I'm gonna step out looking nice, I might do it once or twice. But on the normal days, you're gonna see me in a t-shirt, some shorts, some jeans or whatever, and I'm just getting it. And the second question, what was the second question that you posed?
Just getting back up on the horse. Just getting back.
Getting back up on the horse. Getting back up on the horse. Like, I ain't gonna, like, I was crying, like, in that yard. And I had to ask myself, are you going to fold or are you going to figure it out? Like, what you going to do? Like, this is your moment. This is a turning point in your life. Are you going to sit here and cry because shit's so hard? Or are you going to look yourself in the mirror, dry your damn face, get back to doing what you need to do, and figure it out?
Guys, you know, I didn't know what to expect having this conversation with you both. And reason being is because you're fairly new entrepreneurs yourself. But I knew I loved your purpose. I loved what you guys were doing. I loved how you were giving back to our community. So I was think if at worst case scenario, I can bring light to what you're doing and hopefully get more people to listen and understand what you guys are doing, because you're bringing so much value into our community. But having gone through this conversation with you both, I'm the one who got the true value. And I think you guys have said so much that just inspired me and put a smile on my face throughout this interview. And you have such a wealth of knowledge, and y'all are just wise beyond your years. I see a huge future for both of you guys. Consider me an ally, a resource. If you should ever need anything from my side, just know that as a big brother, I'm here for y'all. I love you, and keep up the great work. You are true power move makers. Before I let you go, where can people find you at?
First, man, Shawn, thank you again, man.
Thank you, man. Love you too, King.
Yeah.
Like, it
Much
means
love.
a lot.
It really does. If where people can find us, you can find me on Instagram at David the Goliath and Twitter at David the Goliath. They spelled a little different, but my name is David Bellard. That's Bellard.
You can also find me on Instagram at I Transcend You.
Yeah.
And on, oh my God. So it's ITR. Huh?
Shouldn't make your name so hard.
Yeah. It's ITRANSCENDYU. That's Instagram. And Twitter, it's Jefe. So JEFE clap, CLAP. Yeah. But you can also keep up with our movement over at Black Wealth Renaissance on Instagram and BWR_movement on Twitter. You can also go to our website. We have a website. Yep, blackwealthrenaissance.com. You can check out our podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you want to catch your podcast. Once again, it's Black Wealth Renaissance Podcast.
We Black Wealth Renaissance everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Guys, thanks so much. And, you know, again, I truly believe you are true power move makers. Continue blessings, continue success. And until we meet next time, peace, y'all.
Peace.
What's up, guys? Thanks for sticking with me to the end of the video. Truly appreciate you. If you like anything you heard here today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you know anybody that can benefit from this message, feel free to share. Peace and love.